Ukraine is living in cloud cuckoo land. It's facing huge losses in terms of life, arms, and territory every day in its war against Russia. As per reports, Russia has bombed Ukraine's strategic Odessa port. And if things go on in the same way, Ukraine will turn into a landlocked country and will soon cease to exist. Hi and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Atul Mishra, and if you haven't subscribed to the TFI Global channel yet, hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon to receive all the latest updates. Let's begin. Recently, Russian President Vladimir Putin at Tehran summit told reporters there were well-known peace negotiations with Ukraine in Istanbul when we actually reached an agreement. The only thing left to do was to sign it. Putin went on to say that Russia made military compromises for the pact. He added, in order to create these conditions, our troops withdrew from central Ukraine, from Kiev. But the Kiev authorities refused to implement these agreements and have no desire to do so even now. Ukraine ignored the peace negotiations in Istanbul and the Italy peace plan, and now it is being humiliated every day by Russia. In an interview in June, Zelensky himself admitted the situation in Ukraine war is very difficult. Every day we lose 60 to 100 soldiers in battles and we have about 500 wounded. Well, the casualties must be around tens of thousands by now. But Zelensky and his administration sit aloof from the rising military concerns. At this point, he should be reminded of writer H.G. Wells' historical lines: if we don't end war, war will end us. Russia has now almost occupied the Donbas region and now is moving forward to occupy the Odessa Oblast, the southwestern province of Ukraine, located along the northern coast of the Black Sea. One day after Russia and Ukraine signed a deal supported by the UN to reopen Black Sea ports and begin grain shipments, Russian missiles targeted infrastructure in the Ukrainian port of Odessa on Saturday. A recent report by Western officials in foreign policy suggested that Moscow will launch another major offensive in Ukraine early next year with a special operation to take control of the blockaded strategic port city of Odessa. Seems like Russia preponed the operation. The bombing by Russia created a hullabaloo in the Western world about how Russia violated the UN-supported deal. But Russia's motives seem clear after the strike. In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea, through which it got hold of Sevastopol. Sevastopol, the largest city in Crimea, has been Russia's only warm water port. The country's ports on the Arctic freeze for several months of the year. Also, Russia's ports that face Europe, including St. Petersburg, face the same issue. Russia's Odessa bombing is driven by its policy to control warm water ports. After Russia takes over Odessa, NATO will be unable to equip Kiev's military by the sea. It will also reduce the threat of a direct attack on Crimea. Also, it will increase the strategic influence of Russia, as Sevastopol, in comparison to Odessa, is just a speck in the ocean. After Russia takes Odessa, it will significantly harm Turkey's dominance in the Black Sea region. Turkey observed Russia and Iran opposing its evil motives in Syria during the recently concluded Tehran summit. That means Turkey will now be facing a combined opposition of Assad forces and Kurds in Syria. Ankara's hegemony after losses in Syria and the Black Sea region is therefore going to take a big hit. Through the Black Sea, Russia will also be able to control the export of grains and edible oil to Europe from Asia. In 2021, about 44% of EU imports came from Asian countries, and the majority of those imports found a way to Europe through the Black Sea. With Russia controlling European imports from Asia, any aggressive action against it will of course be disastrous. The Black Sea also serves as a gateway to the Mediterranean for Russia. Russia will go to any extent to take over Odessa and the Black Sea, even if it means violating any UN rules or conventions. Controlling the Black Sea will cement its superpower status for decades to come. As an Athenian politician, Themistocles said, "He who controls the sea controls everything."